Hey guys, carrying another movie for you guys, and this movie reviewing. I was actually really looking forward to this movie. Probably one of the movies I was most looking forward to this summer. Besides Civil War, it was the movie I was most looking forward to in May, without a doubt. I'm sure you guys would agree with me. Well, besides The Nice Guys, because I do really still want to see The Nice Guys, and I'm probably going to see that, maybe Monday, Tuesday. I don't know, really sure. I'll see it one day this week. I have like 4 days off from school, so I might have time to see it. And I was really looking forward to this movie. Definitely, I mean, it's one of the big movies of the summer, definitely, and especially after the other movies we had, I was definitely looking forward to it, and let's just get into it. That movie is X-Men Apocalypse. Like I said, I was really looking forward to this, mainly for two reasons. Why? Because of these two movies. It's really not hard to say why, because of these two movies. I've said before, First Class, this is the movie that got me into superhero movies and made me love them more than I ever did, because before I just looked at superhero movies as just fun movies, and this showed me really what that's capable of, and then this movie perfected that. X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, I mean, I think it's one of the best superhero films ever made. It's a fantastic movie. It's very complex. There's a really great story going on here. And if you guys haven't seen either of these, I mean, why are you watching Apocalypse? There's no reason to. But the thing is, I was definitely interested in seeing how they would go from what ends up happening in this movie. Because if you guys know, as in Age of Future Past, the timeline's erased now. And really the question was, how do we go on with that? But I was a bit worried, I will say, because this movie has not been getting really good reviews at all, really. I mean, I think it has like a 54% on Rotten Tomatoes, which I don't understand at all. It just does. Why? I don't know. But I'm going to say right now, I actually really loved X-Men Apocalypse. I think it's just as good as First Class, not as good as Days of Future Past. I just think that's really hard to do, but I do think it's right below First Class, definitely. I really did love this movie. There are a lot of things that are great about it. Is it a perfect movie? No, it definitely does have some significant problems that I am going to talk about, but overall was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and I really don't understand the critics on this one. I gotta say, I really don't see it. But let's get to the plot of X-Men Apocalypse, which I really do love the plot in this movie. Basically, we are now there are a bunch of different plots here, but our main storyline is focused on this ancient mutant called Apocalypse, who apparently is the very first X-Men ever created, like back in ancient Egypt, and he basically wants to completely cleanse the human race, just get rid of the human race. He wants all mutants, so that way there can be mutants and they can take over the world and everything, and that's really what he wants to do. That he wants to cleanse, he wants to take over, and he's kind of like, he really is sort of like a immortal, immoral tyrant in many ways. Definitely he's a tyrant, and basically the X-Men have to try to find a way to stop him, while Apocalypse also is building a team. They also have to try not to get under Apocalypse's control, because he can control all the X-Men, and that basically is the plot of X-Men Apocalypse. Like I said, there's a lot of storylines going on in this movie, because this is a very character-driven movie, but there's a lot more going on, than you think, and it's very, I'll get into that, but first of all, let's get to the cast here. I don't really need to talk about the cast as much, because you guys know James McAvoy is great, you guys know Michael Fassbender is great, but I do want to talk specifically about what the situation some of them are dealing with in this movie. James McAvoy is great in this movie. He really is fantastic. I mean, I think he has this part down perfectly. Ever since I've seen him in X-Men First Class, I've always loved James McAvoy in this role. I think he's done a fantastic job. I mean, sorry guys, I think he's done a great job so far. He's really impressed me in everything he's done, and here he was also fantastic. I think he did a really great job here, especially because now he's been able to reopen the X-Men school, and you see the passion that he has for that. You see what's going on with him, but there's also a really cute storyline going on with him and Rose Byrne, which I'm not going to spoil. You guys haven't seen First Class, but I really love what they did with him in this movie. I thought he was really great. And the way that he what ended up happening between him and Apocalypse, he's actually the one that is probably the most endangered with Apocalypse. And it's really interesting what they did with his character. I really love that. But for me, the most interesting art in this movie revolves around Michael Fassbender, Eric Lenshaw, Magneto, whatever you want to call him. I mean, we know he's fantastic, but here I really love what he's doing, because in this movie, he's very confused. I mean, he's supposed to be a villain, but now it's basically revealed the secret of the X-Men to everyone, and everyone knows that there are mutants out there, and they're obviously kind of terrified of them, and they all think that they are as bad as Magneto is because of what happened at that conference, at the DC conference or whatever, and he basically has gone to hiding. He's trying to control his powers, but you can tell that he definitely can't do that. I really love what they did with him in this movie. He had some incredible scenes, and I will say that after this one scene with him in this movie, that is when this movie really got incredible for me. I think he did a great job. I really loved his character. My one thing is that Jennifer Lawrence, I don't know, something about her was really off. She seemed like she was just like, you know what, guys, I've done 2 movies. I tried really hard in the last one. It was a big part of this one. I'm just not really going to try here because she really wasn't. I mean, for me, a lot of her acting was very wooden. I thought she was quite off at times, and I don't know. I mean, maybe it's because Jennifer Lawrence doesn't really want to play this character anymore, but for me, I just didn't think she was as good as she could have been. The thing is, though, it's not a huge problem because she doesn't have a lot to do. Well, she does have stuff to do here, but we already know how great of a character she is in the first 2 movies. Here, I think she's still really good, but I just really wasn't as big as a fan of her as I usually am. I usually really like Jennifer Lawrence. I always say, oh, she's a great actress, but here, I just didn't really care in the way I should about her character, and I felt more to me like Jennifer Lawrence wasn't really caring either, so why the fuck should I care? That's kind of how I saw it. But now let's get to the thing that I know most of you want me to talk about, which of course are the new characters, starting off with Oscar Isaac. We all know that Oscar Isaac can act really well. He's a very talented actor, especially as of late. He has been just killing it role after role, whether it's Poe in Star Wars or an Ex Machina. I mean, he really is just killing it, and I was really looking forward to seeing how he is as Apocalypse. You know, that was one of the things that I was like, this is going to be amazing regardless. Oscar Isaac is an incredible actor. And let's talk about Apocalypse as a whole, because for me, it was kind of hard to latch onto his character when he was first created. I mean, the beginning of the movie, they give you this very long, drawn-out scene where Apocalypse is created and he's, like, connected to people, but you definitely feel the threatening presence of Apocalypse. Like, you totally understand what he's doing. I mean, what he can do is crazy. The way that he could change people into certain life forms, like, say you're a human, he can turn you into dust, he can turn you into a wall. I mean, it really is incredible what he can do, and also what he wanted to do, how he wanted to cleanse the human race. You definitely see it, and also how he could get inside the X-Men heads and control them. That's something I thought was really cool, the way he could do that. I thought he was just killing it there. He definitely had that menacing presence down. I just didn't necessarily see the motivation as much, mainly because there's no scenes in the movie of anyone, you know, making Apocalypse seem vulnerable, and his whole idea of cleansing the human race entirely and just making it so it's mutants only, I didn't fully understand. What was his reason for this? Why does he want to do this? Does he want absolute power? Was he ridiculed? I felt like there was something missing with Apocalypse. It just felt like there was something missing there. I think Oscar Isaac did a really good job, and especially towards the end of the movie, he was fantastic. I just felt the motivation wasn't really there. Definitely it should have been. It wasn't there as much as it should have been. I definitely would have wanted to see more of him as this character, but I do think he did a very good job. Definitely not Oscar Isaac's best performance. I will say that menacing voice and the voice modulation they did, I thought was really great. You definitely felt the menacing presence of Oscar Isaac, but besides a few other things with him, for me, I just didn't really feel he was as menacing as a villain as he could have been. He was menacing, I just didn't really feel the motivation, and for me, a villain needs to go hand in hand. You need to care what they're doing, but you also need to, obviously, yes, you need to feel the menacing presence, but you also need to understand what they're doing, and here, I just didn't really get why Apocalypse was doing what he was doing. I still really enjoy his character, but for me, he just wasn't as great a villain as I think he could have been if you would have given him a little bit more to do. Of course, back in this movie as Beast, and he's really good. I really like what he did here. Again, you've seen him in the other movies, so I can't really say much else that's going here, but I do like how he was kind of like a mentor in many ways, because he is a teacher. He kind of takes people under their wing. He kind of gets them to train their abilities a bit more, and I really did like seeing that. I thought he did a very good job. His character doesn't have a ton to do in this movie, I definitely will say that. He doesn't really go beyond, oh, I'm going to teach you how to perfect your power, because it seems like he can perfect his power, but you don't really feel like there's much of a conflict going on with this character, I definitely will say that. You understand why he needs to be here, there just isn't too much going on with him. Rose Byrne is back in this one as Moira, and obviously it's a very awkward scenario, because as you guys know, at the end of First Class, Professor X wiped her memory. You know, she wiped all of her memory, she doesn't remember who he is, she doesn't remember what's going on with him, and I kind of like the love story going on between these two. It was kind of sweet. I liked the way it was going on. You could tell he really liked her, wanted to be with her, but she doesn't remember him at all, and she's a much different character than we saw in First Class, and I thought she did a very good job. I really did like her in this movie, and she was definitely really great. And then the other characters as well, the newer ones we got introduced to. Ty Sheridan was really great here as Scott Summers. I thought he really killed it as Cyclops, definitely. You totally understand the situation he's going through. Let's talk a bit more about some of these characters, though, because I really think they are the things that make this movie. Look, anyone could tell you that, oh, James McAvoy is great, and oh, Michael Fassbender was amazing, but the one thing that we have for this movie is we have a bunch of new characters, and some of them I think really work, some of them don't work as well. Ty Sheridan is one of those ones that work very, very well. I really love what they did with him as Cyclops. I think he's probably the best incarnation of him we've had. Of course, I don't really remember the first 3 X-Men movies because I was kind of young, but I remember I saw the first one, I just don't really remember it. But the thing is, that timeline is wiped now, so those don't really count as much in the series, which I'm kind of fine with because I like the direction they're headed here. You definitely saw that Cyclops, he's really vulnerable. He doesn't fully understand what's going on with his powers. He's trying to kind of, neutralize himself and kind of, he's kind of trying not appreciate it as much. But I think he did a very good job in this movie. Definitely really killed it, and it really just showed how great of an actor Ty Sheridan really is. I really liked his character here. But Sophie Turner, oh my god, she killed it in this movie. I loved her character, Jean Grey. I thought she was fantastic here. The way that she really didn't know what was going on with her, the way she was kind of scared, I thought was really interesting because, yeah, you wouldn't really know what's going on. Suddenly you can get into people's heads, suddenly you have all this telepathy ability. She doesn't really understand it, and that's something I thought was really great here, but she's also incredibly strong. Like, she definitely displays a lot of leadership qualities. You can totally understand how she turns out to be the Jean Grey that we know, and I really loved her in this movie. Sophie Turner, she's a great actress. She's fantastic as Sansa, of course, in Game of Thrones, and I like the way that Sophie Turner actually compared Jean Grey to Sansa, that Jean Grey kind of just wants to be normal, and that she doesn't necessarily want this gift, but she's kind of just living with it, and I do like what she really did with that. I really like Sophie Turner here. She did a very good job, and I definitely really liked her character in this. Now, my main problem with this movie is, I think, some of the more newer characters like Psylocke and Nightcrawler, not Nightcrawler, that's not the one I'm going to talk about, Psylocke and I think Storm, as well as, the Archangel, just don't have a lot to do here. I really wasn't into their characters as much as I wanted to be. For me, they just didn't really add much of anything. They're part of Apocalypse's team, but they don't really do anything that interesting for me. They were kind of just there. I didn't really find them that interesting. It's because there's a lot of characters introduced in this movie. I will say, though, Cody Smith-McPhee as Nightcrawler, this is totally the Nightcrawler that we needed. He was really funny, definitely. He was actually very funny, but he was also really religious, and you totally understand what's going on with him. He's very religious. He is German as well. There are a lot of things that he doesn't understand about America. I think Cody Smith-McPhee really killed it here. This is totally the Nightcrawler that we wanted, and I think he really did a fantastic job. One of my favorite parts of the movie by far. He was fantastic. But like I said, going back to Alexander Shipp and those characters, you just don't really care about them in the way you should. I wish I cared about them more. I just didn't care as much as I wanted to. And yeah, that's really how I feel about them. And then the only other person to talk about, of course, is Evan Peters as Quicksilver. He was fantastic. They gave him more to do. They focused more on his character in this movie, and it really was fantastic what they did. Obviously, after that awesome sequence, Days of Future Past, you didn't know if they could top it, and I don't necessarily know if they topped it, but they showed exactly what he could do. He was fantastic here. He was so funny. He was so fun to watch, and he has a really nice twist going on that I don't know if you guys, I believe they addressed in Days of Future Past, but you guys haven't seen it, I'm not going to spoil, but it's a really nice twist. I love what they did with this character. Definitely really great, and I thought overall he was really great. So, basically, like I said, he was really good. So overall, the cast is really good here. Like I said, some of them have more to do than others, but all of them did a really great job. I don't think there was anyone that half-assed it, except for Jennifer Lawrence. I don't know what was going on with her. I felt like she was just not really into the role. But something to say is that there are characters that die in this movie. There are characters who die in this movie, and those deaths, they do feel warranted. I'm glad they had characters die because there are so many characters in this movie. It's hard to focus on them all, and I'm glad that they chose focus on a small group rather than a million characters, because they didn't actually do that. They kept it actually very grounded, and I definitely really did appreciate that. Of course, the directing here is by Bryan Singer, and what can I say? he, I think, knows what works in the X-Men series and what doesn't, and he does that very well. There are two things that Bryan Singer does very well here, is human conflicts, definitely human conflicts, like them with their powers and showing who they used to be and who they want to be. I think he does that very well. I really did like his directing in this movie. Obviously, Bryan Singer, he's no stranger to the X-Men series. He's done 3 X-Men movies so far. They've all been fantastic, and he was great with this one as well. I thought his directing here, what needed to be funny, it was funny. It was very witty. witty at times. It was also really, really dark, too, and it actually got a bit strange at times. I like that he kind of went for this more psychological tone. Definitely, he didn't try to make it like other X-Men films. That's something I definitely really did like. A lot of people are saying, oh, it's been there, done that. Not really. I mean, Apocalypse, there's a new element to it that I haven't seen in any other X-Men movie, or Marvel movies for that matter, and I really appreciate it here, because it was very strange, but a good kind of strange. It wasn't a bad kind of strange. It was something that I really did enjoy. If I did have to have one problem with this movie, it was the screenplay. Not overall the screenplay, maybe the first 20 minutes. The first 20 minutes, this movie is a complete mess. I don't know what happened, but the first 20 minutes, it's crazy. You're going from character to character. We're getting introduced to all these characters at once, and until a scene happened with Magneto in the very beginning, after the first 20 minutes, that's really when I got into this movie. I know Chris Stuckman said the same thing, but I would agree with him. I think that really is when the movie got great, because for a while, I'm like, okay, I like this, but this is going so quickly, and we're going through all these characters. Are we really going to be able to focus on them? And yes, we were able to focus on them eventually, but for a while, it does feel like the movie's going to get very convoluted, but it doesn't. I thought the storyline we're dealing with here, it really was very life-threatening. I mean, especially because the timeline was changed. You don't know. Some of these characters could die. Something could happen to these characters. We could lose a bunch. You know, something bad could happen, and I definitely really love that. A big part of this movie, I don't think that the trailer shows, is that it is about the aftermath of what changing that timeline was like. How did these characters go on? What happens now that that timeline was changed? What can these characters do? I definitely really appreciate that, because there are things that are done in this movie that does change the timeline, but the timeline was already changed, so really anything they can do, and I really did appreciate that. I think that was very well done. I really did enjoy it, and also the world's perception of the mutants, how some of them like them, some of them don't. I thought it was very interesting. We didn't get that as much as, like, Civil War, but I definitely really did like that here. They definitely tried to do that, and that's something I really did appreciate. The dialogue here is really quick, it's really witty, and definitely every storyline I was very into. There wasn't a single scene I wasn't into. I think everything was really interesting, and honestly, a lot of people are saying they feel the length. I didn't feel the length, I really didn't. I felt the length in the first 20 minutes, but after that, I didn't feel the length. I felt like this movie really flew by for me. I was really into it, and that's something I definitely will say here. The cinematography here is fantastic. I love the cinematography of this movie, really. I mean, especially the look on Apocalypse, just the look on everyone. Really, all the costumes look fantastic. The look of everything, definitely. And also, they incorporate the 1980s so well in this movie, and I was so happy about that, because I wasn't hearing anything about that. But yes, they do use the 1980s to their advantage. There are times where they will reference 1980s movies. Like, there's literally a part where they're seeing Return of the Jedi, and it's probably one of the funniest scenes in the movie. I don't want to spoil what happens, but I was laughing hysterically. There are actually scenes in this movie where they do acknowledge superhero cliches and things that happen in these kind of movies, and I didn't think they'd do that, but they actually do. I thought that was really fun. I really did enjoy that, and you definitely felt like you were in the 1980s, and that's hard to do in an X-Men movie, because a lot of them do look very similar, but here, just like this felt like the 1970s, and just like this felt like the 1960s, this feels like the 1980s, and it really does show that they know what they're doing. They can take a world and put the X-Men in literally any time period, and it'll feel like that time period, and it works really, really well, and I definitely really did love that. The score here was fantastic. Really did love the score to this movie. And the editing, I thought, also was really great. Let's talk about the action here, because the action was amazing. I love the action. I mean, there's a lot of action going on, but not really till the second half. The end of the second half is very, very action-heavy, but it's also very character-heavy. There's a lot of stuff going on here with a lot of characters getting involved, and there might be some plot holes, but those are they very much show why these plot holes are necessary in this movie, and that's something I really like. I haven't really seen a movie be like, oh, I don't like this plot hole. Oh, that's why that was there. I thought that was really clever the way they did that. I really did love that. Really cool stuff there, and I thought the action here was awesome, especially that final battle. Oh my god, I was so into it. I loved everything about that final battle. Really, that was fantastic, and one of the best parts of the movie, especially what Apocalypse can do. You honestly don't know if they're going to defeat him. Just the way that he looks and the scope, you don't really know. Are they really going to be able to defeat this guy? He really seems impossible, and that's something that works very well here, is that you do feel like we don't know if they can defeat him. Even though he's very one-note, and you don't really feel the motivation, or you care about his character as much as you should, you still do feel that threatening presence. That's something that works very well here for me, and I really did appreciate that. And let's get to spoilers now in this movie. I don't want to spoil anything, but I am going to spoil some things because I just need to talk about them. I need to talk about things that happen in this movie that are really cool, and I don't want to spoil it for you guys. If you guys haven't seen X-Men Apocalypse, do not watch the rest of the review. I'm going to spoil a lot of things, and I want to talk about what I loved about them, why they work so well for me. Go see X-Men Apocalypse. Honestly, don't listen to what the critics say. It's a really great movie, and I'll give you my score once I'm done talking about the spoilers. If you guys want to do that, once you see the video cut, then you will see what my score is, and then you guys can watch the rest of this video. Okay, so just put the video on mute if you want to do that, whatever you want to do. Just do what you gotta do. Okay, so let's talk about, of course, I don't know if you guys know this, but I'm sure you guys do from that trailer, but there is a Wolverine cameo in this movie, and it's really cool. I like what they did with him. It would make sense that Wolverine would be kind of ferocious and a mutant, and that Jean Grey would be the one to control him. I think makes a lot of sense. The way she got into his head, it shows the connection that those two have, and why those two eventually do end up together. And I am looking forward to seeing possibly Sophie Turner be in the next Wolverine movie. I think we are hopefully going to see that. I think it'd be really cool if they did that, and I definitely really do hope that we end up seeing Sophie Turner in the next in the Wolverine film. I definitely think that's going to be really cool what they did with that. But let's talk about the climax, because there's so much going on in that final action sequence, really. I mean, you don't know what's going to happen. I honestly did not know if they'd be able to take down Apocalypse. I mean, when even Magneto can't take him down, I mean, you know, and he's flinging all those metals at him, you don't even know if it's really going to work. And that's something I really did love, is that you don't know if they're going to be able to take him down. And the fact that they're just giving it all they got. You know, Cyclops is going crazy with his eyes. You see Beast is really going crazy. Everyone really is just giving it their all in this fight. And the way that you know, Charles had to be the one to neutralize him, and that he got into his head, and I love that that's how he lost his hair, because we knew eventually that was going to happen, but I didn't know it was going to happen here. I thought it was really cool that he didn't end up losing his hair. I thought it was really cool the way they did that. I thought definitely that was something I really appreciated, because like I said, we knew that was going to happen, we just didn't know when, and I'm glad that now it finally happened, because you knew it was going to happen at some point. I thought it was really cool they did it that way. Really cool way of setting up, you know, and getting us to the Professor X that we know, because now he's lost his hair, he's in the wheelchair, pretty much the Professor X that we know. I know a lot of people did not like that haircut, and that is gone at the end of this movie, which I'm very happy about. But I like the way they were able to take down Apocalypse, the way that Jean Grey was able to control him. I thought was so cool. I love the way that was done, and that was something I really did appreciate. But let's talk about Magneto in this movie, because he makes a decision to turn down the offer to help out the X-Men. You know, Charles was giving him the offer. He said, look, if you want to help us, you can. But not only does he do that, he goes out on his own. So what happens? I don't know. I don't know where they're going with this character, and I like that, because, of course, since the timelines are erased, that does not mean that Mystique needs to get on his side, you know, because now we know the Mystique, Raven is going to stay as Mystique, which I'm very happy about, even though I think she was kind of one note in this movie. Magneto seems like he's going on his own, so I don't know where that's going to go, and I did like that Professor X did give Moira her memories back. I thought that was a really nice scene. I love the way that was done, and the way that she's remembering everything, the way he says, you know, I should never have done this, I thought was really great. I really did appreciate that. And then the ending, the way that all the X-Men are going to be trained, and they are going to become X-Men, I thought that was so cool. But let's get to that post-credit scene, because there is a lot to talk about there. We see a Weapon X facility. They're visited by this man. He's retrieving data on Stryker's mutant research, including an X-ray and a blood sample marked Weapon X on behalf of the Essex Corporation. And the Essex Corporation, if you guys don't know, I believe the Essex Corporation creates the Sentinels. I don't know if that's true. I believe they do. But that was really cool. I love that little tease there. I thought it was really cool. They did give us a post-credit scene, as opposed to X-Men Days of Future Past, which I believe did not give. Actually, it did, because Apocalypse. They did give us that credit scene to Apocalypse. I thought that was really cool. They did that. Really did love that. And again, another great thing about this movie. So overall, guys, I really enjoyed X-Men Apocalypse. I thought it was a very entertaining film. A lot better than critics making out to be. And I'm definitely going to give X-Men Apocalypse a 4.5 out of 5 or an A-. This is not at all a perfect movie. I don't think it's as good as Days of Future Past, but I do think it's right below First Class. It's a really great movie. It's a lot better than people are saying. I think there are a bit too many characters, and the movie did go on for a bit too long, especially in the first 20 minutes. It's really messy and things like that, but if you really stick with the movie, it's a movie that really does get better and better as it goes on, especially that climax. It does have a villain that doesn't necessarily have a clear motivation, but I think they did what they could do. They made it as good as they could, and that's one of the reasons why I loved it more than I think critics have. I think you guys should definitely take a look at it, and it's definitely a lot better than people are making it out to be. So overall, guys, in my review of X-Men Apocalypse, I know you guys saw this movie, have seen, love to hear your thoughts on it. How would you compare it in the X-Men series? Now, you can't really count X-Men, X2, and X3, just because those don't really count anymore. So between all three of the movies, how would you rank them? For me, I think it's pretty simple. Days of Future Past, First Class, then I put Apocalypse. I think they're all really great films. Apocalypse is the weakest of the bunch just because it's kind of convoluted at points. But other than that, like I said, I really did enjoy it. I'm really looking forward to seeing these characters again. I know Bryan Singer says they're doing another one, thank God. It's gonna be awesome to see all these characters. Definitely I thought that was really cool as well. I forgot to say, I did like seeing all the characters as teenagers, like Jean Grey. I thought that was really cool to see, and their little group that they formed I thought was really cool as well. But overall, guys, if you guys saw this movie, have seen, love to hear your thoughts on it, and we'll see you guys next week, which will be for the season premiere of Girl Meets World, because the premiere is actually up already on Watch Disney Channel. I am definitely going to watch it, and then I'll review it to you guys, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.